Hey everyone, it is the most exciting time of the year. We are getting ready for the Sephora VIB sale event. That starts tomorrow for Rouge members. So I'm going to put down below in my description box the start dates for all of the different tiers for the memberships. If you are not a member, it is free to join. You can just join and you're instantly an insider, which will grant you 10% off the entire website, 15% off for insiders, and Rouge members who can start shopping tomorrow, 20% off. So this is a very exciting event for a lot of people. It's an exciting event for us content creators. I know personally, I sit down and I start making notes and I'm crossing and I'm changing and everything. And it's taken me a really long time to come up with this list. And I have 25 recommendations for you, which was really hard. It's a lot of products, but it was really hard to kind of like hone it down and really just narrow it down to these 25 products. So what I like to do is apply as many of these products to my face as possible. I only managed to apply, let me see, 7 of these products to my face. We'll do some cutaways to be applying them so you can see them in action. I will also be swatching as many of the products as possible for you so you can get a good idea of like colors and things like that. As we know, Sephora's website can be a little off when it comes to colors and shades and things like that. And what I'm also hoping to do tomorrow when the sale starts is post with you my shop with me. So I'm excited to shop this sale. I hope you guys are too. Let's go ahead and jump right into my recommendations. So I have a bunch of base products that I want to share with you. The first one is the one that I am wearing. It's the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Complexion Drops. So I started out with the shade Atelier 2. I don't know why I'm holding up the bottle. You can't see the shade. Atelier 2. And then I have moved down to 0.5. So Atelier 2 worked for me, obviously, when I was a little bit tanner. 0.5 is actually what I'm wearing today, and it is a much better match for my fall-winter paler skin. This foundation is really lovely. It has a very thin texture, almost like a serum texture, and it does have skincare benefits to it. And I really, really just love the healthy glow that it gives my skin, but I don't feel like it makes me look very oily or greasy. But the consistency of this foundation is really remarkable. It just doesn't change or shift or do anything strange as the day goes on. So I really, really enjoy this foundation. I think most definitely if you have dry, I would say normal to very dry skin, you're going to really, really love this. It's very hard for me to tell if something's going to work on oilier skin types because my skin is so dry. But I would say if you have an oilier skin type and you want to give this a shot, I would just powder it down if you have any excess shine. Keep some powder on you if you're going out, because I do think the longevity of this foundation is probably pretty universal. So anyway, if you use me as a shade reference, Atelier 0.5 is working for me now. Atelier 2 worked for me when I did have a bit of color. If you guys remember when I came back from New York City, I definitely had like a little bit more of a tan. That has completely faded. So anyway, moving on, I do have a few more, 2 more foundations to talk about. The Charlotte Tilbury Beautiful Skin. So this one has a little bit more coverage than the Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Complexion Drops. I would say that the complexion drops probably have light medium kind of coverage. Of course, I think it depends if you use a brush, if you use fingers. I like to use a brush, which usually shears it out a little bit more than if you use fingers. So I would say that this has a light medium coverage, and Charlotte's Beautiful Skin Foundation, I would say has like a light medium coverage. But I really, really love this Beautiful Skin Foundation. Again, if you guys have been with me for a while, you know that when this first came out, I could not get enough of this, and I did like a whole foundation ranking. This was close to number 1, if not number 1. This appeared in my favorites, like all the things. This really made my skin look very, very beautiful. I'm looking at my skin right now. I want to say that this probably has more of a natural skin-like finish versus the complexion drops, which have a little bit more radiance. This just makes my skin look very, very smooth and natural. Very, very natural. So I really enjoy this. I am the shade 2 Natural, which I do feel like maybe is a little bit too deep for me now. I should probably, during the sale, pick up a lighter shade. So anyway, this worked for me over the summertime when I believe this came out. I'm totally losing track of time. I think this came out in the springtime, and I wore it all throughout the summer, and it just looked beautiful, and it wore really, really well. So I love this foundation. And then the last one I want to mention, and I have definitely mentioned this in plenty of Sephora recommendations videos because it is a La Mer product, and we know La Mer products are a little pricey, so it's nice to get 20, 15, any percentage off. This is the Radiant Skin Tint Broad Spectrum SPF 30, and I use the shade Light 22. And this is, I feel like this is a combination of these two. It has a lot of the characteristics of this where it's very skin-like. It feels really great on the skin. It has a similar texture to this. It's a little bit more lotiony. It's thicker than the complexion drops. But I feel like the finish that it gives my skin is a little bit closer to the complexion drops. There's a little bit more radiance going on. And it's really just a lovely, lovely, like tinted SPF. It's really just gorgeous on the skin. I have used this actually on a lot of my friends' moms who have asked me to do their makeup, and it looks gorgeous on their skin. They're always asking me, what is it that you used on my skin? Like usually if I use foundation, it just makes, it kind of emphasizes lines and things. And I'm like, not this. This like plumps your lines. La Mer is a skincare line first and foremost. All of their color products are basically skincare products with like color infused in there. And this skin tint is no different. It is so gorgeous on the skin. It really plumps up your skin. It feels great on the skin. You're going to take your makeup off at the end of the day. You're not going to feel like you wore makeup all day. You know that feeling? I don't like that feeling, and you won't get that with this La Mer skin tint. So that is the last foundation product that I wanted to mention. Let's move on to concealers. So I'm counting this recommendation as one recommendation, even though I'm holding up two products right here. But I would say any of the Dior concealers. So I have the Backstage concealer here, and I have the Forever Skin Correct concealer here. This has a bit more coverage, and the texture of this is just a little bit creamier, and the Backstage is just a little bit thinner, and the coverage is just a little bit lighter. So today I'm using the Backstage because I have the complexion drops on, which is also very light. So I kind of wanted to match up the coverage. So I use shade 1N in the Backstage concealer, and I use 2N in the Skin Correct, but I could probably use like 1N in this as well. So coverage and texture is definitely a big difference in both of these. The other difference is if you like to just use a concealer and not foundation, so you're kind of, you know, concealing around your eyes, you're spot concealing on your face, and then you're sort of blending it out, I would definitely recommend this Skin Correct concealer because the texture is really, really great for all over your face. It just blends out beautifully, where this I just like to use around my eye area. But you just can't go wrong with either of these. They're just really, really good. I just think they wear really well. They look really nice. They never sink into fine lines. They don't cake up. They don't look dry, like none of those things. And they have a gazillion shades. So either of these Dior concealers, I would say go for it, just kind of depending on your needs, your wants, and your preferences. All right, and for powders, I have one pressed powder and one loose powder. The loose powder is the limited edition Givenchy Prism Libre powder. It's in the shade 12 Lumiere Polaire, and I love this packaging. It's actually kind of puffy. I always play with it. If it's sitting on my vanity, I'll just pick it up and kind of squeeze it. I really love the packaging. But I really love this powder. It is very, very soft looking on the skin. It is what I have kind of lightly dusted all over my face today. And it leaves my skin looking, you know, like it sets down my foundation. So it really takes shine down, but it's not drying, and it's not flat and matte at all. It really has a soft, soft touch to it. And I do have experience with probably two other shades in this formula, and I have the same experience in terms of like the texture of this powder. So I would say whatever shade looks to be your match or looks interesting to you, I would say give it a shot. This shade number 12, this limited edition holiday shade, I don't know if you guys can see, but it has like purples and pinks. It is pretty cool toned. So it's going to be very, very brightening on your face, and that may not work for your complexion. So I wouldn't recommend this shade for everyone, but I would recommend this powder for sure. So that's the loose powder. My pressed powder recommendation is from Westman Atelier. I really, really love their Vital Press Skincare powder. Now, I've been playing around with shades Creme, Translucent, and Pink Bubble. There's 5 shades altogether. These are basically the 3 lightest shades. So Translucent looks white in the pan, Pink Bubble looks like a light pink, and then this one is Creme. So Creme has a little bit of like a light nude kind of like tint to it. And I have to say this is the one that I reach for the most because I just like to use this with a brush and just kind of lightly dust it all over my face. Super simple. The white translucent powder I'd like to use under my eyes because it is a little bit brightening. I think dusted all over my face, it's a little bit too brightening. And same with the pink bubble. The pink bubble is actually really nice under my eyes as well and like my pore area. But I really like the creme just sort of like as a universal shade all over my face. So if you use me as a shade reference, or if you want, I think the most universal shade for my skin tone, I would go with creme. Now this powder is incredibly, incredibly blurring. Like I said, I have the Givenchy loose powder dusted all over my face, but I really like to focus a blurring powder like this one, kind of over my larger pores. It is so, so good. In fact, I'm gonna do that right now. So I'm gonna use my Westman Atelier powder brush and just tap it right here. Do you see how blurring that is? How soft that whole area looks? It looks like I just added a filter over here. And here I haven't added it to that area yet. But isn't that gorgeous? I mean, I think the difference is so, so noticeable. So I'm gonna add it to this side now. And it really just takes down all of that like larger pore action that I've got going on over there. And it's fantastic. So I love this powder. It is really, really effective. And there are skincare benefits to this powder as well. So definitely read up on the descriptions of the Westman Atelier products because a lot of them have like skincare benefits to them. So those are the two powders that I wanted to share with you. And then I had to share with you the Danessa Myricks, what's the full name? It's the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Powder for face and eyes. This is definitely a product that, you know, really impressed me the first time I used it, but it was a product that I needed to kind of bond with a little bit, that I needed to get to know, that I needed to use a little bit more. So I'm actually holding up shade number 1. So there's a whole shade range in this product, but there's also a universal one that's meant to be clear. I have that as well, but I find myself reaching for number 1 more. And I really like using this on the tip of my nose. Despite having really, really dry skin, like incredibly dry skin, the tip of my nose is where I am the oiliest. It's where I sweat. It is really the most difficult part. And so what I like to do is just pick up a little bit of this balm powder, and it just takes down any shine. It really blurs pores, and it stays. It is one of the most curious products ever because when you go in to the pan, it feels really slick. It feels really soft. And I think, how is this going to like matte anything? How is this going to like stay put? You feel like it's gonna just kind of slip off of your skin, but it stays put and it leaves my skin not dry matte, but it just sort of takes down that shine so that my skin doesn't look oily. And I love it. This is also really, really great for pores. So if I hadn't just applied that Westman Atelier powder, I would apply it right here to show you. It really has a very similar effect to this powder. And it's so cool. It's just really, really interesting. And if you do get one with like a little bit of a tint to it, it will add a little bit of coverage too. So, you know, if you feel like you need just a little bit more help or something, it's a really good product to lay over your foundation because it does have that little extra coverage. You can use it like in lieu of your concealer. You can use it on top of concealer as well. It's just such a cool product. If you're someone who really likes to like experiment and play around with your makeup, I would definitely give this a shot. Or if you always have like an oily nose tip situation, try this. It's absolutely incredible. All right, and I do have a bronzer that I want to share with you. This definitely appeared in one of my favorites, and I really love the formula and I love the tone. This is the Haus Labs, what is the proper name? Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer, and I'm using shade Light Level 2, and I just love this shade. It is completely and totally neutral on my skin tone. It's not too cool and it's not too warm. So I feel like I can use it as like a bronzer contour situation. I can also kind of lightly dust it all over my face, which is what I did today. My forehead, down my nose to warm it up a little bit. It is so versatile, and the powder itself is really nice. It is like soft to the touch, but it's not overly pigmented. So it's really easy to use. I don't like cheek products that are overly pigmented. They're very scary. Sometimes you can't turn back. You've applied too much. But I never find that with this bronzer from Haus Labs. It really goes on smoothly, lightly. You can build it up slowly. It's really mistake proof. I love it. I love the formula. I love the shade. I love everything about it. So the Haus Labs Power Sculpt Velvet Bronzer, a big winner in my book. Okay, next up are the RMS Redimension Hydra Powder Blush. I have, I believe, 5 out of the 6 shades. I purchased these all myself, and I just think they are absolutely gorgeous. So this one is Pomegranate Fizz. This one is French Rosé. This one is Mai Tai, Sangria, and Maiden's Blush. And here are the swatches for the 5 shades. So we have Pomegranate Fizz, French Rosé, Mai Tai, Sangria, and Maiden's Blush. These are stunning. They have the most beautiful sheen to them. I think these shades are absolutely gorgeous. I have French Rosé dusted on my cheeks today. I love, love, love the shades. I love the formula. These are like a baked, that kind of baked gel powder formula. They're just gorgeous. And then of course you can build it up by adding more layers, but you can really start out with something very, very sheer, and they just blend out so beautifully, so easily. And again, the finish of them is just gorgeous. I do love a blush with a sheen to them, and these do have a little bit of a sheen to them. Not as much as a highlight, but like similar. Like it has that kind of metallic reflect to it, and I just think it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So those are the RMS Redimension Hydra Powder blushes, and they come in refillable packaging, which is really great, and like really cute, like white cube type packaging. Really nice. Okay, next up, some more blushes. The Gucci blushes. I really, really love these blushes. And I think if the RMS blushes maybe are a little bit too shimmery for you, a little bit too much of like a highlight going on in there, you'll really like these Gucci blushes. They are very soft matte, so they have a very subtle kind of satin sheen to them, barely detectable, but it really keeps them from looking too dry and flat on the cheeks. So I have purchased all 6 of the shades. So let's go through those. This is number 1, Silky Rose. Number 2, Tender Apricot. Number 3, Radiant Pink. Number 4, Bright Coral. Number 5, Rosy Beige. And number 6, Warm Berry. And here are the swatches. So from top to bottom, we have Silky Rose, Tender Apricot, Radiant Pink, Bright Coral, Rose Beige, and Warm Berry. It is really hard for me to say which shades I've been using the most, but I want to say Rosy Beige, number 5. And I feel like, you know, this is kind of like a 90s shade, because when I was in college, I want to say I had a lot of blushes in this shade. I feel like Chanel came out with a bunch, and I had a shade from MAC that was very similar to this. But anyway, I've been using Rosy Beige a lot. You know, I love Radiant Pink. That's number 3. I've also been using Bright Coral, number 4. And Silky Rose, number 1. So those are probably the 4 that I've been using the most. I'm sorry, that doesn't narrow down very much. But I really, really like these blushes. They go on like a dream. They're very easy to use. They're like kind of a more typical formula. They're just like a pressed powder versus the RMS blushes, which are that baked gel powder. So I think these are a really beautiful alternative to those RMS blushes if you don't like something that shimmery on your cheeks. And then I've got some face palettes to talk about. So Hourglass has come out with their ambient lighting edit palettes for the holidays. They came out with 3 versions, and the elephant one is my favorite. It's just the one that I reach for the most. And as you can see, there are 6 products in here. Okay, there are the 6 powders. From top to bottom, we have the finishing powder in dim light. Then we have the finishing powder in soft light. Then we have metallic strobe powder beaming strobe light, bronzer in lustrous bronze light, the blush in iridescent coral, and a blush in radiant rose. So we basically have like 2 face powders here, a highlight, a bronzer, and 2 blushes. I just think this is a very well-rounded palette. I feel like this is a great travel palette because you have a little bit of everything. This is great for my particular skin tone. They came out with, is it the tiger one? Yeah, the tiger one, which is gorgeous, and that has like deeper shades. I think it's great for like medium skin tones. The one palette that I don't like, I think it's the butterfly one. Not that I don't like it, but I think there's no bronzer in there, so there's a lot of like powders in there and then a couple of blushes. And I just think it's a little bit too redundant. I think they should have thrown a bronzer in there or just something different. But anyway, this one is definitely my favorite. And the Hourglass powders are just, they're soft, they're blendable, they're really beautiful. They all definitely have a bit of a sheen to them, some more than others. Like this highlight is very, very metallic. And then the rest of the powders, like these two have a soft satin finish, and then these have like a nice bolder kind of satin finish. Just really, really beautiful and very impeccable on the skin. So I love this elephant palette. I highly recommend. And then I'm kind of cheating here too, because I'm going to count this as like one recommendation because I think it's just really going to depend on what you're looking for. But I love this Tom Ford Skin Illuminating Powder Duo. And I was reminded of this product because they extended the shade range. So the original is Mood Light, which is just gorgeous. There's this beautiful highlight here and this bronzer, which has the most incredible sheen. So I'm just gonna swatch those on the back of my hand here. Just really, really beautiful, almost like a bronzer topper, that bottom shade. But do you see how like wet and glossy these powders look? Really gorgeous. So they came out with 3 new shades. There's Tan Light, Nude Light. Both of those I find to be just a little bit too yellow for my skin tone. They're very, very gold. But they also came out with Peach Light, which I'm really enjoying. I actually have this highlight on my cheeks today. But let me do a quick swatch of these two. So you can see it's almost like a peachy version of Mood Light. There's a little bit more warmth, a little bit of pinkiness in this highlight, and this one is a much brighter shade. So I think if you have Mood Light and you really enjoy it and you have like a light skin tone like mine, or maybe even a medium skin tone, this would actually be a really beautiful highlight. You may really enjoy Peach Light. So I just love these powders. This is like a baked gel powder formula as well. And I was so excited, so excited when I saw that they had extended this shade range. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Peach Light, and it's kind of rekindled my love for the Mood Light, which has always been kind of like a longtime favorite. It's just gorgeous. All right, let's move to eyeshadow. So the Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize. I have been using these more and more. It's like I love them when they first came out a gazillion years ago, kind of got distracted, and yeah, I've just been loving them again. So Oyster Pearl, I don't think this is a new shade. I think this has been around for a very long time, but it's a beautiful, beautiful, slightly warm taupe shade. Right there, I think you can see that there's like a slight like peachiness to it. Really, really gorgeous. So that's Oyster Pearl. I've been loving that. And then she just came out with a few new shades, and one that I love is Exaggerize. So it is admittedly pretty similar to Oyster Pearl, but it has a lot more shimmer to it, and it is a bit warmer. So here is Exaggerize, and there's actually like a bit of like micro glitter going on in there. Very, very pretty. And then here's Oyster Pearl. So very similar, but a little bit different there. I think Oyster Pearl also, the reflect is a little bit more gold, and Exaggerize, the reflect is a little bit more silver. I think you may be able to see that. Anyway, I just love, love, love these cream shadows. They're very, very soft. They're like a moussey cream shadow. So I feel like I have to be pretty careful when I pick them up. I'll use a brush. I don't like to use my fingers. I feel like I just kind of make too much of a mess. But when I use a brush, I just sort of dip it in very, very gently. You don't need a lot of this product, and I just work it in all over my lid. They make for great one and done shadows. So Charlotte Tilbury Eyes to Mesmerize. Such a winner. All right, next. Wow, I'm totally cheating here, but we're just going to talk about Pat McGrath eyeshadows, just in general. I didn't want to sit here and just, kind of knock off every single eyeshadow palette of hers that I really like and would recommend. But I recommend any of these, and I'm just going to show them to you quickly. What I have on my eyes is her latest Mothership palette, which is Moonlit Seduction. It's her 10th Mothership palette. I can't believe it. So here is the palette. And I love love, love, like it's desaturated quality. None of the shades in here are super bright in any way. They're like a little bit dulled down. It just makes them a little bit more versatile, I would say. So I basically have this on, you could probably see it like my socket line, and then I have this all over my lid, and then a little bit of this. Like in the inner portion of my lid. So basically the top 3 shades here. And then I have this shade kind of tapped all over my lid just to give it a little bit more interest. And at first I was a little bit sad that the 4 party shades in here are not the baked formula, but these are, I will say, a little bit easier to use. They have an incredible impact. They are very multi-dimensional. Like a lot of these have like a multi-chrome effect to them. And I do get a little bit of fallout, but not quite as much as the other Pat McGrath shadows, which are very, very chunky. They're very, very glittery. I mean, I love them. They're a lot of fun. That's sort of like the point to them. But these are, I would say, just a little bit easier to use. And so I was like kind of annoyed in the beginning that these weren't like the baked shadows, but I've really come to appreciate that these are not the baked shadows. So that's Moonlit Seduction, her latest. And I think it's really, really beautiful. You know, Pat McGrath, admittedly, she kind of lost me for a while there with all of her Mothership palettes that were some variation of a pink. And I'm glad that she kind of pulled away from that a little bit with this Mothership 10. The other Mothership palette that I will always love is Mothership palette number 1. Like one of the originals. I just love this cool tone story in there. And I've talked about this palette nonstop since I got it a gazillion years ago. So I'm going to move on. If the Mothership palettes are not your thing, maybe you're not into big palettes or it's just too much. It's just too much shadow for you. There are 2 quads that I really, really love. This one is it Ritualistic Rose? Where's the name? Yes, the Blitz Astral Quad in Ritualistic Rose. Now these are all of those baked shadows, but they are so gorgeous. And these 3 in particular, this one is a little bit chunky. It has like glittery bits in there, but these 3 are very smooth, actually. Let me do some swatches here. So these are the 3 I was just talking about. So they're just a super high shine, like just gorgeous. I love, love, love this quad. And then the one that has a little bit more glitter in there is this one. I think you can probably see it. It has those gold glitters in there. So you will get a little bit of fallout with this unless you use some glue. But I love this quad. Love it. I love these smoother baked shadows that she uses. And I was so happy to see that there's 3 of them in here. And the shades, like this shade is so beautiful on the lid. It's so gorgeous. So anyway, that's Ritualistic Rose. The other quad I want to mention is the Voyeuristic Vixen. So funny, it's like I was going through this Sephora site and it's almost like I forgot about these gorgeous quads because there's just so many things that came out. So this one is beautiful. These are all pressed shades. These are not the baked formula. But this quad it's just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. And I really like the variety of the finishes in here. So that's the first 3. And then the last one. So we have this gorgeous like metallic shade up here. We have this really fun multi-chrome glittery shade. We have a matte shade, and then we have another metallic shade, much like the first. But this is one of those palettes as a neutral lover I really love because the shades themselves I wouldn't say are like, whoa, like really out of this world, but it's the finishes of all of these different shades that really give it like a lot of interest. So I love this Voyeuristic Vixen quad. And then the last one I wanted to mention is this teeny tiny mini eyeshadow palette in Midnight Voyage. This is the one with the 6 pans. This one is just great. I think if you're looking for something to travel with, maybe you haven't tried like Pat McGrath shadows, maybe they're like a little bit intimidating. These are great. I think they work just like the Pat McGrath shadows. There's 2 mattes in here and 4 satin shades. And the color story is not terribly unique for Pat McGrath. She does this a lot actually, where a lot of her deeper shades have like a purple in them. But it's really just, I think, like a nice kind of everyday palette to have. And I really like that it's in this very diminutive size. It's like the same size as these RMS blushes and flatter even. So I think this is a really good pick too if you are looking for a smaller palette, you don't like larger palettes, you're looking to get into Pat McGrath, the big ones kind of scare you, I think that one is a good place to start. And of course, I had to recommend this Tom Ford Violet Sateen quad that he just came out with. So this is in the creme formula. This quad is so beautiful, and it's so much more interesting than the pictures make it look, because this shade up here is a little bit of a duochrome. This has like a really beautiful metallic shift to it, and then we have two more like matte cream shades down here. So let me do some swatches. There are the 4 shades. Isn't that beautiful? And I love how these are so cool. And this shade right here, this grape kind of raisin shade, is, you know, it's on the cooler side. It's not, you know, orangey or coppery in any way, but it's not, I don't know, it's not something I would have paired with these 3 other shades, and it just works really, really well. It's so beautiful. But these 2 shades, wow, are they absolutely stunning. And I'm a huge fan of this Tom Ford cream formula. I just think they just go on like a dream. They just blend out beautifully. They're very like well pigmented. They're not overly pigmented. They're not too light where you have to build them up too much. They're really easy to use, and I love them. I just love them. So this Violet Sateen just really blew me away. I like the other one that came out with this one, but because this one was such a like, wow, like it surprised me. I've just been reaching for this one much more than that one, which had like a green color story to it. All right, and the Natasha Denona My Dream palette. I really love this palette. And when I reviewed this for you guys, I even said in that video, I was actually surprised at how much I like this palette and how much more interesting this palette looked in person versus the pictures. The pictures just made it look kind of like a cranberry pink, almost like her retro palette. And I thought, okay, we'll see. I really love her formula, so I was really curious about it. But it's just so much more interesting. Like the golds in here, this color down here, it keeps photographing, and in the light it looks pink, but it actually has a duochrome there to like a bright green. So again, there's just like so much more interest and like different levels of like intensity for the shades and different depths. And I just think it's really, really beautiful. And it's Natasha Denona quality shadows, so everything blends out beautifully. The metallics are super creamy, and I love this palette. I love it. And I was debating between this and the Huda Beauty Empowered palette. This one won out. I like this one. I like the way it performs, and I really like the colors that are available in here, the shades that are available. But I did want to mention this palette, the Glam palette. I still love this palette, and I feel like cool tones are really, really great for the fall, winter time, especially for the holidays, because whenever I see like all the holiday bright red lips come out, I just picture bright red lips with silvers and grays and like black and white eye looks. And so I just always think of like cooler tone shades, and I personally really love cool tone shades. So this palette, I think if you were to decide between 2, obviously these are very different, kind of depends on your personal taste, but I would go for the Glam palette for sure. I just think it's just really, really beautiful. But if you want something with, just a little bit more, brighter shades, those purplies, some coppers in there or whatever, then this would probably be a better pick for you. Okay, and I've got one eyeliner recommendation. These are the Hourglass Voyeur eyeliners. These are waterproof, they are gel liners, and these are just wonderful. They go on my my actual lid, they go onto my tight line area, like my waterline area, seamlessly, and they just don't budge. They don't budge at all, and I was so impressed with these. Only thing I do want to mention is it takes a little bit of elbow grease to clean it off at night because they are so budge proof. They take a little bit to remove, so just keep that in mind. I love the colors that they came out with. Yeah, it's just a really, really great eyeliner. So the Hourglass Voyeur eyeliner. And then I've got one mascara to talk about, the Tower 28 Make Waves mascara. That's what I have on today, and it's just a great mascara. It like lengthens, it volumizes a little bit. It really is like a Your Lashes but better. They don't do too much like separating and like kind of like splicing out. I really don't like spidery leg kind of lashes. And then I don't really like super volumizing where your lashes just kind of look like clumpy. This is like right in the middle of both of those things. And it's really just, like I said, a My Lashes but better sort of situation. And I really love it. And it never smudges or flakes or does any of that. And it's super easy to remove at night. So Tower 28 Make Waves Mascara, definitely a good one. Okay, for lips, I love this Natasha Denona My Dream Trifecta, the lip liner, the lip gloss, and the lipstick, all of them. I just love. Let me just swatch all of them for you. Pretty much I've been wearing them in every combination. Lip liner and lipstick, lip liner and lip gloss, lipstick and lip gloss, lipstick by itself. It's the shade. It's like the perfect kind of cool tone, pinky rose. It looks very nude on my lips. And I love the formulas of all of them. The lip liner is very, very soft, but it does set down. The lipstick is super creamy. The lip gloss is glossy, but it's not too goopy. It's not sticky. Just really, really wonderful. I love, love, love all three of these products. So anyway, this is all clumped in as one. And it looks beautiful with the My Dream eyeshadow palette. It's like the perfect pairing. So had to mention those. And then the other lip product I wanted to mention is what I'm wearing. It is, you guessed it, the Merit Signature Lipstick. So these are the lipsticks. They're very lightweight. Not only in feel, they're very, very balmy, but also in pigmentation. So they're like a medium kind of level tinted lip product. And it was such a pleasant surprise because I actually didn't know that when I bought them. I just wanted to give them a shot. And I saw lightweight and I just thought it was the texture of them. I didn't realize that they were actually lightweight in pigmentation. So anyway, I have purchased 4 shades at this point, and the shade that I have on is Cabo. This is probably the latest one that I purchased, and I think you guys probably remember it from my most recent haul. But here is Cabo. So you can see how light the pigmentation is. So if you've been wanting to maybe try an orangey red color, actually this is just pretty straight up orange. If you've been wanting to try an orange shade, this is a good one to start with. It's not too intimidating. And then we have Slip. And this was probably the first, well, I purchased 2 to start with, and I fell in love with it. Look at that beautiful nude. So that's Slip. The other one I purchased at the same time was 1990. And this is such a great 90s grungy brown. Perfect for this season. And then I also picked up Millennial, which is a pink shade. So there is Millennial. So Cabo, Slip, 1990, Millennial. I just love like a lightly pigmented lipstick. I just think they're so easy to put on, so easy to wear, so easy to touch up. I'm just a big fan. So those are the Merit Signature lipsticks. All right, and let's move on to some perfume. So I've got 2 Tom Ford fragrances here. I've got the Tobacco Vanille and I have the Ombre Leather. And again, this was really hard. This was really hard to narrow down. There are a lot of fragrances on the Sephora site that I love, especially for the fall winter time. But these 2, I can't get away from. I actually have the Tobacco Vanille on today, and this is such a lovely gourmand kind of scent without being too overly sweet. I feel like the tobacco and the vanilla really balance each other out because the vanilla, as you know, is a very kind of sweet, creamy kind of scent. And tobacco, I think some people think tobacco smells like smoke, but it doesn't. Like if you've ever smelled like pipe tobacco, it actually has like a very fruity, almost like sour kind of fragrance to it. And so I think the vanilla really rounds it out, and it's such a beautiful combination. And I would say it's a pretty unisex scent. In fact, both of these are pretty unisex. So the Ombre Leather is like a lightweight kind of leather. I kind of equate it to like a new leather scent. It's not too old. The Tuscan leather from Tom Ford, which I really love as well, it was too much. So I picked the Ombre Leather. But the Tuscan leather smells more like old leather, like leather you'd find in a library. The Ombre Leather is a little bit newer. It's a little bit fresher. Yeah, and it's just a little bit lighter, but I still think that this is very unisex, much like the Tobacco Vanille. So love these Tom Ford fragrances, and I'm not the biggest fan of all Tom Ford fragrances, but I really, really love those 2 and Tuscan Leather. And then I had to mention Jo Malone diffusers. Now, I don't usually have a lot of diffusers in the house. I usually am more of a candle person, but this was actually gifted to me last Christmas. So this is 10 months old, and it's obviously it's not as strong as it was when it started, but it is still working. It is still diffusing the velvet rose and oud scent. And I'm just amazed at how long this has been going, because I've had diffusers, I think I tried some from Nest, and they lasted maybe four to six, like I could maybe stretch it out to 6 months. But this is still pretty much going strong. This is sitting in my guest bathroom downstairs, and you can smell, which is off of my kitchen, and you can smell it in the kitchen. And people always comment, they're like, oh, that's such a lovely fragrance. And I'm like, oh, it's the diffuser in the bathroom. So it's really impressive, like the longevity of this. And I'm thinking about getting some others just because it's so nice. It's so nice not to think about, you know, candles. I have to think about lighting them. I have to think about blowing them out, etc. But diffusers are just going all the time, and they're a lot safer too. So this Jo Malone is great. Really, really great. I can attest to it. So normally I wouldn't recommend something that I don't actually have and not actually experienced myself, but I feel fairly confident in recommending the Jo Malone Mini Candle Trio Set because I have experienced each of these fragrances before, and I love them. The Pine and Eucalyptus, which is a fragrance that they come out with during the holidays every year, I love. It's such a fresh like pine scent. It's really lovely. The Lime Basil and Mandarin is really fresh, citrusy scent. I love that. I have the hand soap in my bathroom here. I have that candle actually burning in my kitchen. I love it. And then the English Pear and Freesia is one of my favorite holiday scents. I don't know why. For some reason, it reminds me of like the dead of winter, like late December, January, February. I really like the English Pear and Freesia. It's sweet, but it's not too like candy sweet. And yeah, it's just kind of like a fresh, like cool kind of fragrance. Anyway, I love all three of the candles in here. And I feel like that's kind of strange. I feel like whenever I'm buying a set, there's always like one odd man out where I'm like, that one's okay. I like the other one, so I'll just get it. But this one, I was like, oh my God, these are like three of like my favorites from Jo Malone. So I think this is a really good set, and it looks like it comes in some holiday packaging. I think it would make a great gift. So anyway, I wanted to mention this mini candle trio set. And then finally, my one skincare product that I wanted to mention, I just ran out of space. I thought, oh, do I want to do like my top 30 recommendations? I was like, too much. But it's the Koh-Gen-Do Cleansing Spa Water. This is the best makeup remover ever. It is gentle and effective. It has no fragrance. It doesn't leave a film on your skin. It is impeccable. And Koh-Gen-Do actually had this past weekend like a 1-day sale on this, 40% off. And I posted it to my Instagram stories, and my YouTube community tab. So definitely keep an eye on those areas. Follow me on Instagram if you like deals and information on new releases and stuff. Anyway, this is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. I always have a bottle of this somewhere in my house. And when I'm doing like eye swatches or anything, I'll bring this downstairs and use this. Otherwise, anything else is too harsh, and I wouldn't be able to like eye swatch more than 1 or 2 things for you. So highly recommend this from Koh-Gen-Do. So that is it. And thank goodness, because I'm starting to lose my voice. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys are going to be shopping for. I'm hoping, again, to put up a shop with me video tomorrow when the sale starts for Rouge members. And don't forget to check my description box on dates for everyone for Rouge VIB and Insiders, the start dates. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and subscribe down below if you haven't already. I'll see you in my next video.